3 sinister night drive tales, spine-chilling true encounters that expose haunted highways. The chill of the night air embraces Sarah as she pulls away from the hospital parking lot. 32, exhausted, and a weary nurse in the crumbling town of Maplewood, she had fought through another shift. Tonight, the fog feels alive. It wraps around her car like a sinister whisper, choking the light from her headlights and turning the familiar Highway 26 into an artery of dread. Every local knows the whispers, the highway thief. Parents warn their kids not to drive alone at night. Yet here she is, navigating the darkness, her heart pounding in her chest. As the road stretches into an abyss, a pair of red taillights in the distance flickers like a warning. A truck, a battered, rusted pickup, sits stalled, its driver nowhere in sight. A heartbeat of uncertainty crashes against her chest. Did they walk off? Should she just keep driving? Suddenly, a shadow darts across the road. Panic floods her system. Sarah gasps, glancing back at the rearview mirror. Her breath catches. Someone stands there, watching her. She spins back forward, but the road is empty once more, a yawning maw in the fog. The weight of isolation wraps around her tighter, each twist in her stomach echoing memories of patients lost. Where were the others now? No, she needs to focus. The muffled, distant cries of something echo mockingly from the trees, wrapping around her thoughts. Hadn't she fought hard? She was needed, yet all she felt was this suffocating darkness pressing against her like a thick weight. The shadows on this road seemed to breathe despair. Come on, Sarah, just get home. The fog thickens, painting the lines of the road into an unrecognizable mess. Sensing a sudden tremor of desperation, she swerves off into a nearby diner, its neon lights flickering desperately, akin to her racing heart. But there's no comfort here. The familiar faces behind the counter wear expressions that look just a bit too wary, way too guarded. The waitress' smile is tight, her eyes darting like she is concealing a dangerous secret. Everything okay? Sarah asks, though unease crawls up her spine. The waitress's reply is a soft murmur, just a rare night. You didn't tea here? She sits as conversations buzz like angry hornets, laughter spilling, but inside, Sarah feels that nagging fear reverberating louder. The pattern emerges, slowly unraveling, tales of disappearances, the diner as an unwilling host of hopeless souls. They all whisper of the highway thief. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Panic spikes. Sarah glances towards the window and her stomach drops. A figure looms just beyond the glass, half shrouded in fog. Fear grabs her throat. The door behind her swings shut with a dull thud, locking her in. She is surrounded not just by her fellow diners but by the whispering shadows of betrayal hiding deep behind warm smiles. The night is far from over, and the darkness engulfs her vulnerabilities. She realizes with a chilling certainty that escape isn't just about outrunning the figure outside, it is about facing the truth of those who have become predators disguised as friends. What trap has she wandered into? The clatter of silverware suddenly dims, replaced by an oppressive silence. The waitress stiffens, her false smile fading into dread. Sarah's eyes dart from face to face, all glancing furtively at the window where shadows play tricks in the fog. No one speaks, but the tension vibrates in the air, a palpable fear that settles inexplicably heavy. Are you alright, ma'am? A bull of a man, arms thick with muscle, leans in with eyebrows knitted fiercely together. His voice is gruff but laced with concern. Yet, there's an edge, something oddly protective mingled with a warning. I saw someone outside, Sarah stutters. Her pulse drums against her temples. If she can't trust the faces within these walls, the shadows are closing in. Just ignore it, a voice whispers from the far corner. A shrouded figure, hidden beneath a cap, interrupts. It's only the highway thief hunting. Best not to engage. Keep your head down. Engaged in a delicate dance of denial and fear, the diners glance occasionally toward the window. Sarah can't stop imagining what lurks behind that layer of fog, fingers scraping along the glass, ghostly silhouettes lurking beneath the milky haze. The waitress finally breaks, her voice trembling, "You need to leave, soon." She quickly retrieves Sarah's check, her hands shaking, and silently gestures towards the door. A warning wrapped in urgency. "And not without my car," Sarah protests weakly, suddenly feeling trapped. The thought of being stranded is suffocating. But getting back on the road feels like running headfirst into the embrace of a monster. Still, she knows every heartbeat lost in indecision only tightens the grip of fear around her throat. Outside, the figure draws closer, emerging from the thick darkness. Tall, with a gait that seems both calculated and predator-like, it circles her car, inspecting it as if it's a prize to be won. Sarah can barely breathe, eyes wide as she watches every deliberate move. Then, the tension snaps. "Stay low." The bull of a man suddenly commands. He lunges, repositioning himself between Sarah and the door, forcing the inmates inside the diner into an unsafe haven. This isn't how it works. We're not going to let this thing take another. Another? The word escapes Sarah as dread curls in her stomach. Her voice is barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" The waitress's face drains of color, her eyes darting between Sarah and the window. The murmurs from the others rise, a frantic knot of panic unfurling around the diner. People have disappeared from this very place, in the night, she confesses, her lips trembling. Shivers race down Sarah's spine. They're not talking about long-ago tales, this is now, real, visceral horror. A hand grabs the diner's door handle. It rattles violently, echoing in the sudden stillness within. "Don't let it in," the cap-wearing figure warns, voice cracking. The door crashes open, and the night swathes the diner in wind. The figure steps inside, a form molded from the darkness itself, eyes flashing like embers in the looming shadows. The atmosphere thickens. "Dinner time," it croons, deep and raspy, as the fog swirls around it, tendrils reaching, almost alive. Sarah's heart races, panic clawing at her veins. She realizes she must act, barely registering her thoughts as they crash against each other in a whirlwind. "Run!" screams the bull, shattering her paralysis. But as Sarah's legs move, she feels the walls closing in, shadows stretching like hungry hands ready to seize her. The truth is unraveling before her, inching closer like the fog that refuses to let go. Where do you run when the predator is already within sight? With every instinct screaming at her to flee, she bolts towards the kitchen. The smell of grease and fear clings to her, but she has to find another way out, the way back to the road, back to light, away from the chilling whispers that haunt Maplewood. Yet as she dashes through the door marked "employees only," she isn't sure if she's running toward freedom or deeper into the trap. What lies in the shadows just beyond that door? The door slams behind her, and darkness engulfs Sarah. She halts, pressing her back against the cool metal. The din of the diner fades like a distant memory, leaving only the sound of her frantic breathing. The kitchen is a maze of shadows and flickering lights, appliances looming like silent sentinels. "Stay quiet," she whispers to herself, forcing her heart to calm. Distant shouts echo from the diner, blending with the clatter of plateware and the frantic cries of the terrified patrons. She can almost visualize the creature reveling in the chaos. Her thoughts race as she grips the edge of a prep table, struggling to recall the layout of the kitchen. A shadow passes outside the glass window, and she freezes. She inches sideways, peering through the grease-streaked, and somewhat cracked, glass. The figure is pacing now, a predator scenting the air. It turns to the location of her gaze, its glowing eyes locking onto hers momentarily. A visceral jolt sends her into a crouch, heart hammering against her ribs. She fights the urge to scream, the walls feel like they're closing in. Just breathe, a voice cuts through, low and conspiratorial. We need to leave. Now. It's the woman in the cap, her face now visible in the low light, urgency etched in her features. Sarah can't believe she is here, but at this moment, a faint sliver of hope emerges. Are you crazy? It's out there. Sarah hisses, fear bubbling in her throat. It's coming, the woman insists, her gaze darting to the door as if expecting the monster to burst in any second. The back exit is this way. With a nod, they skulk through the kitchen, moving slowly past the monstrous freezer and the sink full of greasy dishes piled high, casting ominous shadows with every step. Every footfall feels thunderous, reverberating with danger. They reach a narrow door leading to a dimly lit hallway. The woman throws open the door, and an icy breath whooshes from the space ahead. Hurry! She urges. They sprint down the hallway. It feels endless, thick with suffocating silence. Each stride feels heavier, the sensation of being hunted sending waves of panic crashing against her senses. The dread thickens behind them, gnawing at the fabric of her mind. Sarah steals a quick glance back, and what she sees twists her stomach. The creature has followed them, silver slivers of fog spilling like spilled ink around it. It hisses softly, words unspoken but chillingly clear. Its elongated limbs curl around the doorframe as if savoring the moment. Go! Now! The woman's voice cuts through the haze, and they burst through the back door into the chilling night air. But freedom is a cruel illusion. As they step outside, the thick fog envelopes them, the streetlights dimming as if swallowed whole. The night is alive with whispers, shadows swirling like malevolent spirits. Which way? Sarah gasps, the pavement slick under her feet. The road seems to twist, folding into itself, a surreal trap. The figure is now mere steps behind them. This way. The woman tugs Sarah towards the main road, desperation fueling her urgency. They dash through the fog, but it feels endless. Just when she thinks they've put enough distance, a wheezing laugh cuts through the night. It reverberates against the trees, echoing around them, slicing through the veil of nightmarish silence. No! Sarah gasps, biting back the bile rising in her throat. They reach the edge of the woods, where the road dips away before them. A single car passes, headlights flaring through the mist, illuminating their frantic faces. But the moment as fleeting darkness closes back in. I can't see it. Sarah pants, almost pleading. It doesn't matter, the woman grits her teeth, eyes blazing, just run. And run they do, weaving down the road, but something primal stirs in Sarah, the sense they're being watched, like meat teetering at the butcher's counter. Adrenaline spikes as she can almost hear the creature's breath behind them, warm and sickly sweet, but then Sarah halts. She glances back at the diner, and her heart sinks, silhouettes are gathering at the windows. Who or what is trapped inside? A voice whispers within her mind, a dark thought, as fear seeps back in. What if it's too late for them? Her breath catches in her throat. The line between them and the creature shifts. Was it too late for her too? Ahead, the shadows of the trees loom. She feels the fog clutching at her, sensing their intentions. Sarah! The woman shouts, tugging her forward. They can't look back now, but as they push through, the echo of laughter follows all too close. Darkness looms as they sprint down the road. An ominous truth hangs thick in the air, fleeing may only lead her deeper into a nightmare she can't escape. And then, through it all, she remembers one essential fact. The highway thief doesn't just take lives, it takes souls. What does that mean for her? Would she still emerge free? Or had she already lost something irreplaceable in the face of this horror? The forest envelopes them, branches clawing at their clothes like desperate fingers trying to drag them back. The murky fog swirls around their legs, its cold touch wicking away warmth and lacing Sarah's limbs with a dreadful heaviness. Each heartbeat drums in her ears. Panic is becoming a familiar friend, though it's a twisted, malevolent one. "Please, keep going," the woman urges, her voice raw with urgency. They dart deeper into the woods, weaving between gnarled trees, their jagged silhouettes looming like tortured spirits. A howl cuts through the air, distant but feral, clawing at Sarah's insides. It sounds almost human, yet the cadence is wrong, twisted. An involuntary shiver races down her spine, igniting an instinct to flee faster. "Where are we going?" she asks, but her throat feels dry, the words coming out as mere gasps. "Trust me. Just run straight. We'll find the road," the woman replies, not turning back. But darkness seems to tease her senses. The path underfoot shifts, jagged rocks threatening to trip her as the eerie shadows seem to whisper secrets. Glancing back, she catches a fleeting glimpse. The creature is not far behind, gut-wrenching laughter echoing in the night, like a warped nursery rhyme. With every step, the forest thickens. She can almost feel it closing in, a living entity intent on swallowing them whole. The branches creak ominously above them, and they break into an open clearing, moonlight pouring down like a ghostly spotlight. We can't be far from help," Sarah gasps, desperate. But the woman's face is drawn tight, eyes reflecting both fear and determination. "There's no help here," she snaps, and Sarah can't mistake the truth in those words. Panic floods Sarah's veins, and she races to the edge of the clearing, scanning the distance for any sign of salvation. Then she stops, and dread pools in her stomach. A looming figure halts on the edge of the woods. It's tall, shrouded by fog, yet its eyes burn bright, locking onto hers with a possessive, sinister glare. "Turn back," the woman yells, grabbing Sarah's arm, yanking her away. She glances back to find the creature has vanished, like fading smoke. But the danger lingers. They can't trust the shadows, can't let their guard down. They plunge further into the night, moving. But just when Sarah feels a pulse of hope, a chilling whisper slithers through the air. Not far now, unmistakably human, seductive. Twisted. The woman stops abruptly, chest heaving. "Listen, can you hear that?" It's there, the low, crooning melody winding around them, drawing out every ounce of dread. Instinct screams at her to run, yet the woman's hand clutches her arm as if anchoring her to this nightmare. "Do you think we can take it?" Sarah stammers, her heart pounding against her ribs like desperately fluttering wings. The woman's gaze turns fierce. "We'll have to face it, and now, Sarah, stay close to me. We can't let the fog separate us." Then, without warning, laughter erupts from the shadows deeper in the woods, that sickly laugh, echoing loud and true. The urgency lashes Sarah's instincts, pushing her forward, but the words of the woman linger, embedding doubt. What did she mean by face it? The fog thickens, obscuring everything around them. With each step, Sarah feels that fin of shadows as if it breathes behind them, the stench of fear and malevolence growing more pungent. With each racing thought, she hears the voices again, as though the trees themselves are whispering her name. "Sarah, Sarah." The world spins, then tightens as the melody crescendos into a feverish pitch, drowning everything else out. A primal urge to flee collides with the need to confront the truth lingering within the song, the highway thief, biding its time, feasting on fear. Sarah takes a breath as dread seeps back in, chilling her core. And suddenly, she understands the price of their escape. The sound of the laughter behind them is not just evil, it's familiar, as if it sings from within. "We're running so far, and yet what if this is our end? What will happen when the shadows close in?" The laughter grows louder, and Sarah wonders if she'll find her soul still intact by the end of this night. A flicker of movement catches her eye, something darting between the trees. And in that moment, she realizes, she's not just running from the past, she's running towards something, a reckoning that is yet to unfold as night deepens and shadows dance wickedly around her. The air thickens, pressing against her lungs as if the forest itself is trying to silence her. Sarah feels the pulse of fear ignite within her, fanning the flames of desperation. She looks at the woman, whose grip on her arm has tightened, knuckles white in the moonlight streaming through the swaying branches. "Keep moving," the woman insists, urgency lacing her tone. But her eyes dart nervously, scanning the path. As they push deeper into the woods, the laughing echoes again, twisting like a knife in Sarah's gut. It's more than just a sound, it's a taunt, playing with her mind. She stumbles, almost losing her footing, but the woman pulls her back, forcing her to regain her balance. The forest feels alive, every rustle, every creak amplified, a chorus of dread. The darkness pulses as if it has a heartbeat. Why does it want us? Sarah chokes out, barely able to form the words. It feeds off fear, the woman replies, her voice trembling just enough to betray her own terror. We can't show it weakness. But as they run, it feels as though the shadows swell with malice, creeping closer, wrapping around them, eager to embrace them in their dark arms. The melodic whisper drifts through the night, seductive, promising salvation but imbued with something sinister. Not far now it becomes an irresistible lure, echoing a promise intertwined with threat. What does it want from us? Sarah gasps again, a fresh wave of panic crashing over her. Nothing good. The woman's voice cracks as she inches deeper into the swirling mist. Just remember, Sarah, don't get separated. The laughter erupts anew, ringing off the trees, each cackle sounding like a jagged shard of glass meant to cut. Sarah's heart races uncontrollably, pounding so fiercely she fears it might burst. Suddenly, something slams into her from the left, a shadowy figure darting past. The woman gasps, and they stumble, entwined in the chaos of terror, but the moment lingers. The figure, no face, no form, just something primal, a fleeting ghost of the nightmare that hunts them. Did you see that? Sarah's voice cracks, her breath hitching. Focus. The woman barks. We need to move. The fog bears down thick, wrapping them tighter, swallowing their breaths, their voices. It feels like a predator closing in. For a moment, they break into a mad sprint, yet the laughter returns, more invasive and triumphant, echoing between the trees. Face it, the woman suddenly hisses, pulling Sarah to a halt. Look. She points to a clearing up ahead, a dull light flickering within. But it isn't the warmth of safety, no, it's a sickly glow, vibrant and pulsing as though alive. The temptation to run toward it pulls at Sarah, battling with the instinct to turn and flee away from the horrors lurking behind. What if we go there? Sarah whispers, heart racing, hope mixed with dread. The woman steps forward, eyes locked on the glow. It may hold answers or a trap. Either way, we can't keep running aimlessly. Their breaths converge in frantic clouds, and Sarah feels a chill creep down her spine. The shadows seem to laugh, to encourage them. But she wants to trust the woman. She wants to shake the fear off, but the whispers return. You can't escape, not from your own soul. We need to make a choice, the woman urges, stepping closer to the light. But as they approach, the laughter intensifies, swelling up like an ominous chorus. The forest shifts and groans, and in that light, Sarah glimpses forms, silhouettes writhing, faces emerging in the shimmering fog. Suddenly, clarity crashes over her. The creatures aren't just figures of shadow, they're reflections of fears, twisted versions of all she has been trying to flee. Sarah, this is it, the woman mutters, eyes fierce but betraying her horror. Whatever happens next, we face together. But just as they resolve to confront the truth, a scream pierces the forest, a blood-curdling sound, high and resonant, trailing off into the night. Sarah freezes, terror lacing the air. The laughter subsides as curiosity blends into dread, murmurs echoing through the trees. Will you join the dance? Will you face your fear? The moments stretch thin, and they edge closer again, minds racing. But is this a beacon of hope, or something far darker? What are we really walking into? Sarah thinks, her heart thundering in her ears. As they step toward the light, the shadows shift, the figures melding together, shapes ready to ensnare them both, and in the back of Sarah's mind, one chilling thought hangs like a noose: what if we're not the ones chasing it but the ones being hunted? The laughter begins anew, and they are drawn forward, unaware of the dark truth that awaits them in the illuminated void, where reality blurs with nightmare. The moment they crossed into the clearing, the atmosphere shifted, thickening like a heavy curtain drawn tight around them. The pulsing light seemed to breathe, casting eerie shadows that danced wildly across the trees. Shapes twisted around, a visual chaos that whispered danger and dread. The laughter faded to a low hum, replaced by a disconcerting silence, pressing down on Sarah's ears. "Stay close," the woman said, her voice but a tremor. Fear and determination merged in her gaze, but as they moved deeper toward the glow, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was undeniably wrong. The air grew warmer, heavier, thick with dread and a sweet aroma that twisted Sarah's hunger into nausea. "What is this place?" They crept forward, drawn inexplicably to the source of light. It illuminated a fountain in the center, a grotesque sculpture pouring out dark, shimmering liquid. The ground was slick with it, and she could have sworn it pulsed like a heartbeat, beckoning her to get closer. "What is that?" she whispered, glancing at the woman who appeared transfixed by the scene. "It's..." the woman started, but the words escaped her, replaced by a gasp as the fountain twitched. In a sudden shift, the shadows erupted, forming monstrous figures with eyes that flickered like dying stars. They circled the fountain, their mouths opening in distorted shapes, as if singing a dissonant choir. Sarah's heart thundered against her chest, her instincts screaming for her to turn and flee. But her feet were glued to the ground. "Run!" the woman shouted, snapping Sarah out of her stupor. But as she turned to flee, thick tendrils of shadow shot toward them, snaking around her ankles, dragging her back toward the source of the taunting laughter. "No! Don't let it take you!" The woman lunged, grabbing Sarah's arm, but it felt like they were tethered to a force beyond comprehension. The shadows loomed closer, their features sharpening, revealing twisted faces that resonated with Sarah's own fears, her failings, her insecurities, each one a dagger dipped in her history. The laughter crescendoed, rising to a haunting pitch as the dark figures closed in around them. "Stay together!" the woman yelled, but her grip slipped for just a second, and in that split moment, Sarah was engulfed by darkness, alone. She turned wildly, searching, but all she saw were silhouettes shifting, laughing, the sickly sweet smell transforming into a suffocating stench. "Face it!" a shadow howled, morphing into the likeness of someone she knew. It was her mother, but twisted. "You always run away, Sarah. You'll never escape me." "No!" she screamed, thrusting her hands forward to combat the horror. She couldn't let it consume her. The woman's voice reverberated in her memory, urging her to confront her fears. With a force she didn't know she possessed, she summoned every ounce of her strength. "I want to be your puppet." The words flew from her with passion and clarity. The figures faltered, momentarily stunned by her refusal. The moment stretched, the laughter wavering. In that instant, she caught sight of the woman, still standing at the edge of the clearing, fighting against her own shadows. Fear and resolve mingled in her gaze, amplifying Sarah's own determination. "Together!" Sarah shouted, raising her arms as she stepped toward the swirling mass, focusing on the myths that had haunted her for so long. The air vibrated, and the forest echoed with her defiance. But just as she thought she was gaining ground, the shadows convulsed, and what should have been a gap in their grip turned into a tidal wave. The last thing Sarah saw was the woman being swept away, darkness consuming her, lost to the laughter as it echoed back into the night. "Sarah!" Her name hung in the air, a desperate pleas lost in the cacophony. Just before the shadows overtook her, she whispered, "What are you?" Suddenly, everything went dark, and silence fell heavy. She opened her eyes to find herself back at the wood's edge, breathless, the unsettling laughter still lingering in the distance. Heart racing, she looked around for the woman, but the shadows had vanished. The cold air felt different now, as if it was charged with an unseen presence watching her closely. Was it real? Something flickered behind her, a shadow moving unnaturally beneath the trees. Instinct screamed at her to run, but something held her in place, a chilling realization. As she slowly turned, a distorted reflection in the shadows grinned back at her, familiar, yet grotesque and nightmarish. "Did you forget us?" it hissed, extending a sharpened hand, and Sarah couldn't shake the thought that the true horrors of the night were only just beginning. The distorted figure lingered in the shadows, its grin widening, prosthetic, yet tauntingly familiar. Sarah's pulse quickened, every instinct screaming to escape, but her legs felt rooted to the cold, unforgiving ground. "Who are you?" she stammered, trying to hold on to the threads of her sanity. It chuckled, a cackling sound filled with malice. "Oh, you know me. I've always been here watching. You can't hide from your own dark corners." The air thickened with tension, it pressed against her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Memories flashed in her mind, instants of failure, shame, guilt. All those times she wanted to disappear. "Stop it!" she yelled, fighting against the overwhelming tide of despair. "You're not real." The creature stepped closer, the shadows flicking around it like flames. It reached out again, fingers elongated, nails sharp like daggers. "Not real? Oh, sweet Sarah, we are as real as your fears." Just then, a glimmer caught her eye, flickering in the background, a sliver of light breaking through the oppressive darkness. Hope surged, she needed to break free. A sudden wind howled through the trees, chilling and raw. It wrapped around her, lifting her spirits momentarily, tugging her toward that ethereal glow. "You can't follow the light," the mockery halting her steps. "It will only lead to more pain." She could hear the laughter returning, high and twisted. They echoed through the clearing, drowning out her thoughts. Deep down, she felt its sinister grip tightening around her, dragging her back into the cycle of fear she wanted so desperately to escape. "No!" Sarah shouted, fighting against the voices, the shadows pressing in closer. "I want to let you take me." With a surge of desperation, she dashed toward the light. Each step felt heavy, a battle against the shadows trying to claim her. As she moved, the air screamed with discordant notes, resonating with her fear, taunting her choices. Just as she was about to reach the edge of the clearing, a tendril wrapped around her wrist, icy and unyielding, it pulled her back. Pain shot through her as she stumbled, falling to the damp ground. The shadows froze, looming above her, their grinning mouths gaping wide in anticipation. "Welcome back," they hissed in unison, an echo of her darkest moments. A deep sob clawed its way up her throat, but she pushed it back down, she couldn't break now. With a renewed flame of determination, she looked up, meeting the eyes of a figure in the shadows, the woman from before. She stood immobilized, as if caught in a web of her own nightmares. "Help me!" Sarah screamed, desperate, reaching out to her. But the woman's eyes were glazed over, swallowed by her own fears. "You can't escape, Sarah," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. "None of us can." As Sarah scrambled backward, the shadows surged forward, eager to engulf her. The pulsing fountain loomed above them like a monstrous sentinel, its dark liquid bubbling with malignancy. "You have to choose," the woman shouted, breaking her trance. "Face your past or be consumed." A sudden clarity washed over Sarah. She realized, the shadows were the manifestations of her own inner demons, the pain she fought to keep buried. But what if she chose to confront them? With her heart pounding, she stood tall, pushing away the fear threatening to claw her down. "I am not afraid," she declared, voice steady. "I will not be chained by my past." The laughter faltered, dissipating into a low hum as the shadows gathered around her, their grip slackening. But a new sound rose from the depths of the clearing, a low growl, deep and sinister. Her resolve wavered, fear creeping back. Suddenly, shadows exploded in every direction, revealing faces twisted with fury and despair. They were here to claim her, to whisper lies. Yet, as their cries echoed around her, one thought sparked in her mind: she could use their power. She took a breath, summoning what little courage she had left. "I reclaim my power," she shouted, raising her arms again. The darkness pulsed, reacting to her words, and a rift opened, one leading back to the woods edge where she had first entered this nightmare. But before she could make a move, the growling intensified, a monstrous shape looming just behind the dancers of shadows, its breath hot and rancid. "Not so fast, Sarah." The question clung in the air like a shadow, choking her resolve. What waited for her in the depths of that rift? Would facing the darkness bring her freedom, or was it merely a gateway to something far worse? The growl echoed, deep and menacing, sending shivers down Sarah's spine. The air shifted, heavy with dread. She instinctively stepped back, her heart pounding like a drum against her ribs. The rift loomed behind her, pulsating with a terrifying light that flickered like a neon sign in a forgotten diner. A flicker of hope, or a siren-esque call to her doom. The shadows danced closer, their malicious laughter piercing the stillness, swirling around her in a whirlwind of despair. "You're caught in a cycle, dear girl," they taunted, eyes gleaming with an insatiable hunger. "You cannot escape what you have ignored. Shut up." She shot back, adrenaline fueling her defiance. The heat was rising, each breath sharp as glass. She took a cautious step toward the rift, daring to believe that it might lead her to safety. Memories clawed at her, each face of regret, each lost opportunity clamoring for attention. She had pushed them away for so long. What's deeper than despair? The growls whispered, so close now she could almost feel their breath. "Face what you've hidden. Face your truths." "Never." Sarah shouted, voice breaking but unwavering. As the shriek spiraled around her, she felt a powerful surge of resolve. Memories swirled, twisted into forms she could not recognize, some familiar, some deeply unsettling: children laughing, faces of loved ones, and finally, her own reflection, marred and fragile. "I am stronger than my fears," she screamed, her voice cutting through the dark cacophony. The shadows paused, momentarily grasping at broken hope. She spun around toward the light, a shimmering promise that flickered at the edge of her perception. "I will not be your puppet." With renewed energy, she lunged forward, her hand stretching toward the rift. The shadows roared in protest, tendrils of darkness swiping at her desperately as they tried to ensnare her once more. She felt their icy grip sharp, biting as they grazed her skin, but she persevered through the pain. The light enveloped her, intense and pure, blinding in contrast to the choking darkness. She barely felt the pull of her fears, then no outside force, only the weight of her own choices, but as she grasped the light, a strong force yanked her back. "You think you can escape?" a voice hissed, echoing around her. The shadowy figure loomed larger, splintering into fragments of her past, each one more disturbing than the last. "You are bound to us." She felt a wave of nausea as the faces coalesced around her failures, those she had wronged, those who shunned her. The weight of her guilt was like a physical entity, pressing against her chest until she gasped for air. I didn't mean to," she stammered, the memories rising like tides, threatening to drown her intentions. "Then face them," it roared, echoing her despair. "Face their wrath. Stop," she cried out, feeling herself losing grip on the fleeting light. "Stop it." Her breath came in ragged gasps, but deep down, a small flicker of resolve ignited. The refusal to be a victim again surged through her as she faced down the twisted memories, her breath steadied. "What if I don't run?" she murmured, and silence cloaked the shadows around her. It was a gamble, but it was worth the chance. "Do you dare?" The growl from the shadows curled around her like smoke, challenging and dripping with malice. "Show me," she shot back, unwilling to allow fear to decide her fate anymore. But in that moment of defiance, everything shifted. The ground beneath her cracked open, and from it, something darker rose, a beast of pure terror. Its eyes were pits of despair, hungry and relentless. "Welcome back to the beginning, Sarah," it rasped, and as its jagged maw opened wide, a suffocating darkness poured out. Could she truly face the fruit of her past? Or was she stepping into the maw of something even more horrendous? The shadows trembled with anticipation, and for the first time, Sarah's heart raced with the realization that the darkness wasn't just behind her, it was right in front of her as well. In that dreadful moment, a new question emerged from the depths of her mind: what if? The only way to save herself was to surrender to the very darkness she had fought so hard to escape. The creature loomed, its jagged maw teasing the boundary between shadow and light. Every instinct within Sarah screamed to flee. But freezing in place felt like a death sentence too. There was nowhere to go, the rift was behind her, the darkness before her, and the shadows circling like vultures waiting for the last breath of life to leave her body. Time slowed. She could see the tendrils of darkness sliding closer, its icy fingers brushing against her skin, attempting to pull her back into the abyss from which they had arisen. Panic ignited. "I want to let you take me," she shouted, her defiance clawing its way through the fear that threatened to suffocate her. "Then face us, Sarah." The growl resonated, vibrating through her bones. It was a challenge to confront the truths she had hidden. Memories flashed again, vivid and damaging: a car accident she tried to forget, the angry faces of loved ones she had abandoned, each guilt-laden image slashing at her. But for every image of despair, another flicker of light laughter, kind touches, love fought to take its place. "Face us." The voices echoed, drowning beneath fresh waves of doubt. "You owe us." This was her demon's final stand. But what if these were not her demons at all? What if this was just a twisted reflection of her own self-doubt, her regrets made manifest to keep her trapped? She had run away from her truths for too long. It was time to confront them. Drawing a breath through gritted teeth, she shouted, "I acknowledge you. But you don't own me. Your hold is weak, let me go." The words ricocheted into the void, and for a split second, the shadows hesitated. Sarah sensed the shift, the air cooling as her courage ignited something within. The beast's eyes flared with rage. "You think it's that easy?" It roared, spilling dark smoke that coiled around her ankles, tightening like a noose. She gasped and stumbled, but she would not fall. Her memories surged forward, as if responding to her newfound strength. A child's laughter echoed through the bond of fear, striking a note of both joy and pain. Was it too late to reclaim what she had lost? Would they forgive her? The waves of guilt crashed down again, but this time, they felt different, less like chains and more like a path. "Remember, Sarah," it hissed, "you cannot escape the past." But what if she didn't need to escape? What if she could transform it? Drawing on a deep-seated fury, the spirit of resistance bloomed in her chest. "I am not my mistakes," she declared. "I am not defined by them. I am still here." A visceral silence followed her fierce proclamation as the shadows drew back, recoiling as if they had been stabbed. The reeling darkness faltered, glimmers of light breaking through the oppressive weight. But the creature wouldn't give in so easily. It shrieked, "No. This isn't the end. You'll come back, begging for your shadows." The words ignited a darkness deep within, a seed of dread threatening to stem her resolve. Just then, an electric pulse erupted from the light at her back, surging toward her. It felt warm yet terrifying, carrying the weight of countless memories, yet somehow inviting. Was this the path to her salvation or another trap? The beautiful flicker behind her glowed with promise, yet uncertainty twisted in her gut. Did she trust it? Could she trust herself? As the shadows tensed, preparing for an onslaught, Sarah made a choice. To step toward the light or wade deeper into the darkness? A choice that might seal her fate forever. Choose, Sarah. The growl resonated louder. This time, make it count. And as she stood poised on the edge between hope and despair, uncertainty hung heavy in the air, begging the question, would she confront her past, or would she become it? Sarah's heart pounded as she contemplated the abyss before her. The shadows writhed, their demonic laughter echoing through her core, their whispers tugging at her darkest fears. She felt the cold tendrils grasping at her ankles like desperate hands, but she had reached the brink. Now, it was time to make a choice that would reverberate through every fiber of her being. I choose freedom. She shouted, her voice ringing loud and clear. The shadows recoiled, their laughter wavering into hushed gasps as they struggled against the force of her conviction. She didn't just want to escape, she was ready to face the darkness she had run from all her life. She stepped boldly into the glowing rift behind her, embracing the clarity it offered. With every stride toward the light, she felt the chains of her regrets loosening, slipping off her shoulders like heavy burdens shed at last. The moment she crossed the threshold, the rift engulfed her in warmth. She was cocooned in a soft, iridescent glow, feeling the oppressive weight of despair lift away. Sarah gasped in astonishment, breathing deeply as the luminous energy pulsed around her. Voices sang not of fear but of hope, beckoning her like a gentle breeze. But even in this moment of reprieve, whispers from the shadows lingered, curling around her subconscious. You think this is it? They hissed, laced with malice and bitterness. You cannot escape your past. Maybe not, Sarah shot back, her voice steady as she stood firm against their words, but I can redefine it. She didn't need to forget her past, she merely needed to accept it. Each mistake she had made, every point of pain, every sobering regret, these were pieces of her story, not the entirety of who she was. Her decision resonated through the rift, a ripple of light washing over the shadows. As they writhed in anguish, her heart expanded, filled with a fierce resolve. You are no longer my prison. She roared, the light erupting from her, illuminating the dark realm. The shadows shrieked, their form distorting, breaking apart, leaving nothing but wisps of darkness that vanished into the ether. Suddenly, pain surged through her as she braced herself for the confrontation she desperately needed. The familiar sounds, laughter echoing through chaotic memories, surged back: her mother's disappointment, the weight of loss, the shame she carried like an anchor. They clawed at her, threatening to pull her down into despair once more. No! She shouted, shaking her head as if to dispel the fog creeping back in. You do not have power over me anymore. With every breath, she recalled moments of love and joy, amplifying them with every ounce of her being. Flashes of family gatherings, laughter echoing around the room, her own laughter intertwined within those memories buoyed her spirits. I am more than my fears, she screamed into the void. I am love. I am light. The shadows battled, thrashing against the brilliance of her heart. But they couldn't hold on any longer. The light swelled with an intensity that blistered against the darkness. With one final, defiant scream, Sarah collided with the center of the light, engulfing herself in its embrace. Everything burst into brilliant shards, moments colliding in an explosion of time and space. She spun, feeling herself dissolve into a whirlpool of emotions, memories spiraling away into the crescendos of her choices. And then, silence, deep and warm like a blanket enveloping her. When her eyes opened again, the world greeted her with a stunning dawn breaking through the horizon. Soft rays of sunlight poured over the landscape, painting everything in hues of gold and soft pastels. Each blade of grass danced with fresh dew, and birds began to sing as if they had been waiting eons for her to emerge. She was outside, at the edge of the woods where she first faced her darkest hour. Fumbling through her thoughts, she felt the void of fear lifting. There she stood, reborn. The weight of lost moments and shimmering hope stood by her side. She felt lighter somehow. Like she had shed a layer of skin she no longer needed. As she took her first cautious steps away from the woods, she saw a small figure sitting quietly in the grass, the woman from before. Her eyes gleamed with understanding as they met Sarah's gaze. "You did it," she murmured, awe spilling from her voice. "You faced it." "Yes," Sarah breathed, tears welling in her eyes but accompanied by a smile of relief and exhilaration. "I thought I lost you." The woman's voice cracked, sincerity dripping from every word. "You helped me find my way," Sarah replied, stepping closer, their bond forged in shared fear and fragile recovery. The distance between them dissipated, sealing an unspoken understanding. Together, they walked side by side, leaving behind the shadows past and pain. The sun wrapped around them like an embrace, and as they headed away from the haunted woods, Sarah knew the battle was neither concluded nor would it ever truly leave her. Why? Because it instilled a sense of profound authenticity. Every scar, every shadow would serve a purpose, illuminating the pathway not just for her but for all those who wandered too close to the dark. With every step, she felt renewed, forged by the resilience of her spirit. "It's a new beginning," she whispered softly, looking toward the untamed horizon. The dawn shone brighter, possibilities glowing fiercely against the backdrop of their experience. As they made their way, warmth spread through Sarah's heart, igniting hope for herself, those she loved, and the untold stories ahead. And in a world full of shadows, she had finally become the light. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are waiting on the horizon. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep thrilling tales like this alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. We're dying to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time to spread the fright and delight. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.